Hi, I'm Sheila Rondeau, and I'm the CEO of MOGXP. We're an events marketing company specializing in experiential marketing. We create branded experiences that allow consumers and brands to have memorable moments. Our show today is Legends in Leadership, and our guest is Ben Reinberg. And Ben has been a leader in the real estate industry for over 30 years. So Ben specializes in commercial properties, but he does it in such a way that he brings such value to communities and to the people that he mentors that we just had to hear his story and wanted to ask him a ton of questions. Hello.
Hi, Sheila. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely.
So, Ben, you have such a different model in real estate. You hear so much about all these different types of real estate investing companies, but your company, Alliance CGC, has been so instrumental in helping shape communities and doing so much to bring value to them. Can you tell us about it?
Well, Sheila, I started the company about 30 years ago, and we wanted to do things differently. We're office, industrial, and retail experts, and we get involved in other asset classes. We own in numerous states around the United States. We started in the Midwest. We're a Midwest root company. We're from Chicago, and we decided as internet and technology became more prevalent, we wanted to be more involved with the internet and get involved in commercial real estate. So we started branching out, investing in other states throughout the United States. We have a large presence in the South, the Southeast, the Southwest, and the Mountain West right now. And what we've done differently is we started using technology to grow our company. I did a newsletter about 26 years ago out of my 30-year career. And people were doing newsletters and they were publishing them. And you probably remember when paper was more prevalent, we'd send them out in the mail. I decided to do it by email marketing, and we got involved in email marketing early. And part of it was to provide value to the commercial real estate community. And what ended up happening is that as the list grew and our database grew and our audience, we're having six figures of people read my newsletter for years. And we did a Q&A with Ben where I would take in a question from the audience, I would answer it for them. It was really a way for us to give back, but also educate on the commercial real estate industry, on leadership, on how to manage employees, different ideas we were working on to really inspire people that were in the industry to not only stay in the industry, but learn how to grow and prosper. There's no real handbook in commercial real estate. No one sits you down and says, this is exactly how you should be running your business or how to acquire a piece of commercial real estate. How do you manage a piece of commercial real estate? So at a young age when I was in the business, we started talking about it. I felt that the baby boomer generation that were ahead of me weren't really good leaders and educators in the business. And I said, well, I want to do things differently. I don't want to be the guy who just doesn't educate people. I want to have this business and create a legacy where more people can get involved and add more value to communities. Because we are leaders in communities in commercial real estate. We have folks all over the world that invest in office buildings and industrial buildings and self-storage and medical office, one of our niches. And what's so important is that to be able to give back to your community, whether you're developing a property, you're enhancing value, you're adding more jobs into a community through bringing in new tenants into the area. So we touch all these different areas in business, and it's a real critical factor within our industry. Well, if someone's not at the forefront teaching it and educating on how to run the business and educate the public of what we do, we're not doing a service to people. And it launched me with my personal brand recently, 3 years ago, and especially with my podcast, was to be able to provide content to the community of how do you buy a piece of commercial real estate? How do you raise equity? How do you go and get a loan? And then how do you manage a property once you own it? And so we decided that we're going to step out and do things differently. No one really teaches it. No one educates the public, where a young man or woman in their 20s doesn't have to endure the pain I went through in the learning curve to be able to flourish in commercial real estate and build wealth. And so that's one side of the business. The other side of the business is that we have high net worth accredited investors and families that invest in our funds and our syndications. And so we allow the public to build wealth and a legacy for themselves as well as their families. And we've done really well doing that. So we open up our funds to the public. They can invest. It's very transparent. We have a new fund called the Alliance Medical Property Fund. We're one of the leaders in the country in investing in and operating medical office properties. And what's great is during the pandemic, we really leaned in and we started growing our portfolio more and more in the medical office and even the veterinarian office space. We saw more people during COVID and the pandemic that were bringing in pets into their house. And we saw the veterinarian business growing. So we said, well, we're going to double down and increase the amount in our portfolio of veterinarian office. And then medical office was growing within my company. But what was outstanding to see is during the pandemic, we saw that our properties were so resilient to whether it's a recession, a pandemic, because we provide consistent cash flow to our investors. There's not one other asset class in the United States, around the world, that can make that statement. Multifamily properties have been struggling. They're not producing great cash flow. You have a rising interest rate market, which is really hurting folks that own multifamily as well. And so for us, medical office has really been a stable cash flowing assets for our investors, and it provides a tremendous profit when we sell those assets. And so for us, we're showing investors around the world how they can build wealth for them and their families. And I'm really proud of that because we have such an outstanding team at my company, Alliance, which we have 200 plus years of leadership team experience. What that does is that we become solutionary oriented. As you know, and being from the military, you have to be solutionary oriented. You have to look at a challenge and say, okay, how are we going to solve that challenge? And that's what we do on a daily basis. So for us, we provide a great value to the outstanding communities that we're a part of. We own in so many different states around the United States. And we feel it's our job to be that leader, to step out and educate the public, to be able to manage a property, to look at the environmental conditions of our real estate. So we look at all these different factors, how they impact our community and how we can give back to the communities we're in.
One of the things I love about you, your organization, and how you conduct business is there are so many real estate investing companies who actually make more money on selling their education than they actually do in investing. And you guys are truly investors. That's where you hang your hat. That you educate people, but more importantly, you're in it with them. And I think that's a big differentiation for you versus anybody else out there doing it, that you live it day in and day out. I was really interested. I was so interested in real estate investing that I walked into a seminar one day and realized that the people in the seminar didn't actually own property. They made money by telling me how to own property and how I should use their system. And I look at you and you live it. You know how to invest, but you also bring people with you. You guys are at this summit and you're reaching down and bringing people up with you to show them how to do it, where to do it, what to invest in. Talk to me about who your clients are. We talked earlier about that young group versus, who are really out there and wanting to learn, and then an older generation that really needs to take more of an even keel, but want to have those great opportunities that others miss.
Well, let me take a step back. Our success is geared off our core values that everyone in my company adheres to. It's transparency, integrity, consistency, and expertise. When we go out to the public to seek capital and raise equity from high net worth accredited investors or family offices, it's really important that everyone in the company are on the same page, pulling the wagon, so to speak, in the same direction. So for us, what we feel is really important is most people, generally speaking, don't want to do the day-to-day management. They want to invest passively. I would say 98% of people out there that have capital that are accredited status want to invest passively. They don't want to do what we do on a daily basis. I see what our property management division deals with on a day-to-day basis. It's a lot of headaches, it's challenges, it's unexpected occurrences that are consistently happening on a frequent basis. And we have to deal with different weather conditions. We have different assets in different states, whether it's snow and ice to hurricanes, tornadoes, you name it, rain, tropical storms. It impacts our real estate a lot. And also just dealing with tenants. And so it's a lot of work that takes away time from your day-to-day if you have another job or you have another business. So we allow people to enjoy investing in real estate, especially commercial real estate, and the ability just to sit back and collect a check, deposit directly into their bank account. And that's what people want, the public wants. So we're adhering to and giving them what they want, but it starts with the foundation of the company is how do we give them what we want? And it starts with our core values. And so our audience, Sheila, I appreciate the question, is anyone out there that has capital, disposable income, that wants to invest in real estate, that wants cash flow, wants to make a nice return on their investment, wants tax benefits, and really wants a good shepherd for their capital. That's who we are. We call ourselves fiduciaries. And that's who we are. We're fiduciaries of capital. And what separates us is that transparency component. When I was younger and we started investing, I said, well, how can we use communication to really help investors out throughout the United States, even around the world? And so the internet has really been a big factor for us because we have our own portal that we set up. We communicate with our investors 24/7. You can call our investor relations department, ask them anything whenever you want. They'll ask your questions. We want you to be so comfortable that what ends up happening is investors never call because they see the communication. They get quarterly narratives and reports. They get financial statements. I am all over the place on social media. They listen to my podcast. I do monthly webinars. So transparency is something very important to me because part of that transparency is educating our investors so they know what's happening. You know, last year in a rising interest rate market, we took a step back and we kind of paused on acquiring properties. And investors couldn't understand it. And we just won't buy an asset just to buy an asset to generate fees for the company. It's taking a step back and what's in the investor's best interest. That's the number one priority. And I give this example. I talk about this on social media, and this is really important. And I say this in my company. If we don't value every single penny that everyone's ever earned, we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. And that's an important point to investors out there. It's because if you're investing with a sponsor or a company like ours, they have to value every penny that you've ever earned. I come from Chicago, as I told you, and I use the example of the man or woman that would live in the suburbs, take the train downtown Chicago in the snow and ice, and it's 0 degrees outside, and they go and they earn a living. And then they invest $100,000, $500,000, $1 million with your company. That's a big responsibility we take on. And if you don't value how hard that person worked to earn that capital, for me, I said, we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. And so gratitude has become a real big thing in my company, is being grateful for investors, appreciating their process and journey they had to make that capital, and how do we become a good shepherd of their capital to grow their portfolio with us, to build wealth for them and their families. And so we've made investors millions of dollars over the years. We have a wonderful team of people that adhere to our values. And I'm extremely proud of where we're going. I am in the prime of my career right now, and I'm excited. We offer a tremendous amount of value to our investors. We diversify, get into all different types of asset classes in addition to medical office. And so for us, over the next 20 years, we see a tremendous amount of growth in our industry. And so when you look back at different cycles in commercial real estate, people always ask me, well, who would you invest in? And I invest in people that are solutionary oriented. People could always pay you a quarterly distribution into your bank account, but how do you handle challenges? Because I have a lot of folks and investors that will show me, I want to go buy a house in this area, or I want to invest in this company, or I want to put money in this type of real estate. What do you think, Ben? And for me, being an expert in what I do, I always ask, well, how do you protect your downside if the worst happens? And who is actually the shepherd for your capital? What's their background? How do they solve challenges? Because that's who I'm betting on. I like the person that can solve challenges. And that's what we thrive on in Alliance, is when a challenge is present, whether it be a recession, a pandemic, rising interest rates, how do you protect your investors' capital? And that's what we do really well.
You also do a great job in mentoring and leading your team. You have so many people who look up to you and look to you for solutions in their investments that really are the biggest portion of their wealth. But you have to have other people help you. You can't do it all alone. So you have done such an amazing job growing your team and educating them and bringing them along to make sure that you are being the steward that you have been. How do you select? Where do you go? Who are you looking for?
Well, when I first started, I had to become a 7-tool player. I had to do everything. Just like any entrepreneur out there, you're going to start and you're going to have to be able to do every aspect of your business. But what's really beneficial of that is that when you bring in talented people to lead and become part of your team, you've already understood what the role is in the job responsibility for that specific position. So it adds a lot of value, Kim, when you bring an employee to take over that specific part. So I've had to take a step back and say, I need to delegate. I did this years ago. And you have to trust. And when you're an entrepreneur or you're a CEO or a founder of a company like I am, it's a challenge that you have to deal with. You have to trust, you have to bring in the right people. So we have an extensive interviewing process. We test people. We have multiple people and touch points with that specific candidate to make sure, because when I bring you into the Alliance community, I want to make sure that we're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us. And so we do a tremendous amount of homework and due diligence on candidates that come into Alliance to make sure, because I want you to be part of this company for as long as you want. That's what it's about. We're going to invest heavily into you. Everyone in my company, we design their perfect life. We use what's called a playbook within the company where they complete it, and it allows us on a weekly basis to make sure on a personal and a career and a future level that we could adhere to what you want. So if you worked for me, Sheila, I would know what you want to achieve on a personal basis. Most of our employees are into health and wellness. That's the number one factor. So we cater around whether going for a walk and having a meeting. People want to exercise, like the public does 3 to 5, 6 days a week. We hold our employees accountable to what they want to achieve personally, and then we allow the company to align itself with their personal desires, their career desires and future. In career, everyone wants to be mentored and coached. Well, that's what I do, not only for young men and women in our business that call me and come to me and I give them a lot of advice, but within the company, I do a tremendous amount of mentoring. And the other thing we do for our employees and others and colleagues of ours is we'll bring in speakers on different Zoom calls or within a company retreat that will educate them on what they want. A lot of them want to learn, how do I enhance my leadership? And how do I learn about investments, which is what we are. We're an investment company. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. Our employees want to learn how to invest because they see what we do as a group, as a company. And so we get them heavily involved in their education of what they want to design the life that they want. And so for us, we have employees all over the world now that work in our company in some capacity. And we have a tremendous amount of women that are in leadership roles. I am a big proponent of empowering women to flourish in their careers. And that's not very common in commercial real estate. That's been a change we've seen in the last 10 years of my career. And so we have a woman even now that we're grooming to take over my position, which will be one of the first companies I've seen in a long time to have a woman CEO in commercial real estate. So I'm really proud of that growth. And so for us, it's a lot of education. It's a lot of mentoring. It's consistent speaking with them, coaching. We listen to phone calls on a weekly basis and say, tweak your communication. Communication's everything in business, and as you know. And so for our business, it's no different. It's really important for us to learn and continue to learn and grow. And I feel that employees that thrive at Alliance, my company, you have to be growth minded. That's got to be your mindset. That's my mindset. It doesn't matter how successful I am, Sheila. It doesn't matter what I've done in my career. I always want to keep pushing forward. I always want to keep growing as a person. And what that does is empowers my employees and my leadership team to want to grow as well. And what ends up happening is if you're not the growth mindset, because of our community, it just ends up pulling you out of the community. And so I recommend for everyone out there, if you're an entrepreneur or you're looking to grow in your career, work on yourself, keep growing as a person, keep educating yourself, be a good listener. So part of that is I am really into my health and wellness. I am a big advocate. I work out about 6 days a week. I'm in great shape. I'm 54 years old. I do all types of biohacking stuff, which we can get into later. But for me, health is extremely important. And people say, well, why? Well, first of all, it builds confidence. Okay, it builds great leadership within you. But what's important about health and wellness to me is to be the best version of myself so I can empower people and coach and lead and set an example within the communities we're in, as well as within my company.
Thank you. When you look at all the options that are out there, there are so many investment opportunities, and they scale from the very small, like the small investments of everything from flipping houses to investing in stocks and bonds and trading, and then you have commercial real estate. Across all of it, you are sitting in a position that you are able to guide people through this and take some of the volatility out of it and invest in a mature, thoughtful, well-planned with experts versus, and I'm not criticizing cryptocurrency versus, there are so many different investments, but you look at commercial real estate and you are not only leading that industry, but you are leading industry, the whole industry of investment, by making it something that any person can do because you're guiding them and coaching them and working through it with them and providing them those opportunities that they might not understand otherwise.
And it's a great point. Commercial real estate is an alternative investment. It's a great diversification play for your portfolio. All of our investors all over the world want to diversify and have part of their portfolio in real estate, especially commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is a very sophisticated game we play. What I love about what we do, and I'm a big proponent, I invest in all our properties, and there's no one more of a fan of what we do than Ben Reinberg, because I see what we do. And what I like is you can go kick the bricks and mortar of every property we own. It's full transparency. And we've outperformed the stock market since I've been in the business on returns, and that will continue to do so. So investors see that. And if you are patient, commercial real estate is a marathon game. It's not liquidity where I'm investing in a stock, I could sell it the next day or the same day. Same thing with cryptocurrency. I invest in all these different types of assets. And so I don't see anything wrong with it, but diversification to us is really important. So when you invest with us, now you're investing to diversify your portfolio. We're going to diversify you within your investments in Alliance. You might have in the Alliance Medical Property Fund, our new fund, we might have 20 assets. So for your $500,000, we'll be diversified over 20 assets. You might have additional capital where you're in industrial properties with us, multifamily we're getting into, self-storage, cold storage, retail, different types of retails. So all these different asset classes, all your capital, now we can use it to deploy into Alliance's asset, but we'll diversify you over many assets to mitigate your risk. And so we see a lot of investors that really enjoy investing in commercial real estate because what I love about our investments are the tax benefits. And not a lot of people talk about them. So I'll give you an example. We can take depreciation, interest expense, and property taxes and deduct it from our income that we receive from these properties. And to make it really simple for the public to understand this is that if I paid you $1, okay, and depending on your tax bracket, everyone's different out there, you might pay on 80 cents of that dollar for taxes. And that's a big savings. So on other investments, whether it's stocks or bonds or private equity, if I pay you $1, you're paying a tax probably on that dollar.
Right.
So there's not many investments out there besides commercial real estate that has the tax benefits that we do. And there's different sectors in how you structure your deals that will impact the tax benefits. So bonus depreciation in the last handful of years has been very relevant because the government is mitigating and starting to lower the percentage that you take a bonus depreciation. Eventually, in a few years, it'll be gone. And so everyone is taking advantage of that now, and we do as well. So what we do is we try to create as much tax benefits to mitigate your taxes that you're going to have to pay. And once we do that, and say we can create a paper loss, you can net that off of other passive investments that you have. And it could be anything from investment in stocks or a company where you're getting a K1 from that investment. You can net our losses that we generate to you against those other investments. So we provide more than just tax benefits on your investments with us. We can help you mitigate taxes on other investments. There's no other investment class out there that will do that. And that's what our founders of this country created for us. And they're never going away. It doesn't matter what you hear in the news. There's everyone, all the senators, all the politicians, everyone around the United States invest in commercial real estate because they see there's tremendous tax benefits for their investment capital. So for us to be a good shepherd for their capital is really explaining to them what the tax benefits. Sheila, I'm also a CPA. That's my background. And what's great about that foundation is I really understand how it works. And so it's part of the education of not only our employees, but specifically our investors. And when you can educate your investors on why commercial real estate makes sense for their portfolio, it's a no-brainer for them. That's why we have so much demand and limited supply that we tell investors, if you're really interested, call us, reach out to us, let us educate you. We don't sell, we educate. And there's a difference in that. And what that does allow investors just keep coming back. Once you come into our atmosphere, they don't like to leave because of the consistent education, the consistent returns, building wealth, and the tax benefits they see every single year through our investments.
Thank you for explaining all of that. If we have folks in our audience who want to learn more, want to learn about Alliance and what your team has to offer, where do they learn more?
The simplest way for someone to come into our universe is go to our website. It's alliancecgc.com. That's alliancecgc.com. We have buttons all over our website. It says invest with us. They click on it. They fill out their information. We'll have someone from our investor relations department immediately get back to them and start educating them. The first question I have is, what challenges are you having within your portfolio? Where you're struggling? There's always a reason why someone reaches out to us. They're not happy with someone else they're investing in. They want to diversify. They want tax benefits, like I just mentioned. And so if you're out there listening, go on our website, click with Invest With Us. We'll educate you. And I can assure you, once you understand what we do, you'll start coming in and investing capital with us. But you have to be a accredited investor. We don't allow everyone to invest with us. We take them through an interview process. It's very selective who we bring into our universe. We're looking for long-term relationships. We're looking for folks that are accredited investors. And if you don't know what an accredited investor, let me explain that, because a lot of people ask me, what is an accredited investor? You have to make a net income of $200,000 a year for the last 2 years, or have $1 million net worth. You could have both, but generally speaking, that's what an accredited investor is. And so you can Google the term. I'll explain you what exactly it is. Generally speaking, people with the capital that we require, our minimums are typically $100,000 because they get diversified over a large amount of assets. Generally speaking, Sheila, most people that come into the university have that type of capital are usually accredited investors. So it's a real simple calculation once you see that type of capital. So my suggestion is if you're looking to diversify, you want tax benefits, you're looking for consistent cash flow, and you're looking for stability and transparency with a group that has a lot of integrity and a lot of expertise and is continuing to grow and diversify your assets, that's the best thing to do is go onto our website, alliancecgc.com, click on Invest with Us, and you'll see how we shepherd our investors.
Thank you so much. This has been great in learning so much about what you're doing and the leadership you're showing within this industry. I greatly, greatly appreciate what you do for our communities and how you are bringing so much value to it. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. That's the end of today's show, but it has been an honor to have Ben Reinberg join us today to talk about real estate investing, and he is truly a legend in leadership.